Hey guys, what's going on? Bluemy64 here, and welcome to the final episode of Wielding Weapons of World. This is going to be a little bit different. I gotta go fast because I got 14 weapons to get through. You see, this video, because it's Insect Glaive, right? You've all seen me use Insect Glaive before, hopefully, unless this is like the first video you're watching on my channel, which meant, why are you watching this video on my channel? We're going to start out, as usual, with reviewing the previous weapon, that being Hunting Horn. Hunting Horn, I quite like it. I actually really... I did not think I was going to like Hunting Horn. I really like Hunting Horn. I did not think, but hey, it all worked out. Hunting Horn is a weapon. It's slow enough that it gives you challenge without being so slow that it's annoying, like Greatsword. I do not like Greatsword. Or Gun Lance, for that matter. It's slow without being too slow. The hits feel satisfying. The complexity that the melodies add is interesting. I quite like it. But I'm going to go into more detail on that later. For now, we are going to cover very briefly the Glaive, just the moveset. Glaive's weapon, which is half glaive, half bug. There's the bug. Come back, bug. Nah, that was the wrong button. Come back, bug. So, Glaive moveset, no extracts. This is your triangle combo. This is your circle combo. Moving forward and pressing triangle gives you a thrust. Moving forward, pressing circle gives you leaping slash. Your draw attack is leaping slash. Pressing R2 sends your bug out. He got gold, that's fine. Pressing R2 while drawn does that. Pressing R2 while you got L2 out shoots a marker. Jumping is jumping. Dashing is dashing. Circle is a forward bounce. And then triangle is just a slash that does not halt your momentum. That's important. With extract, you got red, silver, and gold. It's actually red, white, and orange, but silver and gold sounds cooler. Red makes your moves do that. Silver makes your jumps go higher and your dashes go further. And gold gives you flinch-free earplugs, defense boost, lots of very good stuff. Perform 4 bounces in a row, and regardless of whether or not you were able to perform the 5th one, it will not bounce you. You will still do the twirly, but you will not actually bounce. Also, triangle in the air evolves into that, which completely halts your momentum. In Rise, it doesn't do that. In World, it completely stops your momentum and goes straight down. Your on-ground stuff, thrust is evolved into strong thrust. Leaping slash doesn't change at all. Your triangle combo has evolved into this. Circle combo into this. Tornado slash, that second hit is your hardest hitting move. So, that is your wake up attack. Your infinite combo is triangle, triangle. Nope, hang on, messed it up. So strong thrust goes into strong leaping slash. Also, thrust goes into wide sweep. So anyway, your infinite combo is triangle, triangle, circle, and just repeat that. Let's see. In the air, you can perform a diving attack with or without extract. That is a marker. It also is it's an attack that happens with your Kinsect, so you do marking. Kinsects, when you have marked, will fly around and leave behind these patches of dust. They have different effects depending on your Kinsect. Your Insect Glaive has a different Kinsect buff that each glaive applies. This one here is stamina upgrade and healing. Grabbing a slinger ammo and then feeding it to your hungry bug will buff it. Different ammo types will give different buffs, and there is a Insect Glaive bonus that will give you both buffs from any kind of ammo. I think I explained that in one of my videos before. There is one more attack that I have yet to go over, and that is the mid-air claw attack. Basically, you're flying around, you can grapple onto stuff mid-air. That's all for the glaive. On to the meat of this video, where I'm going to go over every single weapon and grade them in 5 categories on a scale of 1 to 5. 5 categories are beginner friendliness, versatility, complexity, damage, and specialization. Specialization is basically how specialized of a build do you need to make for this weapon? How much does this weapon benefit from having a custom-made, tailored build? Starting us out, Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield, beginner friendliness, 5 out of 5. It is extremely useful in all circumstances. Easy to pick up, easy to use. Moveset, simple but versatile. It is a very, very good beginner weapon. Just get that. Bam. Very useful. For versatility, this thing gets a 4, maybe even a 5 out of 5. This thing can do everything. It can block. The only downside it has is its regrettably short reach. However, if you're too tall, just go up. The claw uppercut, which requires some pretty tight timing, I'll admit, allows for a one-hit tenderize, which is very useful. It is just overall probably the most versatile weapon in the entire game. It gets a 5 out of 5. Let's see. Damage, this thing gets a 4 out of 5. Not the highest, but a skilled Sword and Shield player can deal some serious damage. And then for specialization, I give it maybe a 2. Also, 1 means you don't need to specialize at all. 5 means, like, it requires the most specialization. So this thing maybe gets a 2, because the only really skill you need on Sword and Shield that makes quality of life a lot better, guard, maybe some guard up, like, that's about it. That's about it. You just gotta be able to block. Because Sword and Shield's block strength is not great. But, I mean, overall, really not that bad. Let's see. Next weapon, the longsword, the lengthy blade. Longsword, beginner friendliness, another 5 out of 5. This thing is super easy to pick up and use. It lacks the blocking potential of Sword and Shield, but the simplicity and fluidity of the combos means that it's really, really easy to just pick up and start swinging. I personally really like the longsword in World. Think they butchered it in Rise, but oh well, that's a Rise problem. Let's see. Versatility. This thing does not get the 5 out of 5 that Sword and Shield got. It instead gets maybe a 4. It has the range and reach that Sword and Shield lacks, but it lacks any kind of blunt damage whatsoever, and you don't have any naturally mounting attacks. But in terms of being able to hit places and do things, it is very useful. It works with both elemental and raw damage builds. Complexity. Sword and Shield. Not Sword and Shield. Longsword. A little bit not very complex. Like, maybe slightly complex. Did I go over Sword and Shield's complexity? Yes, I did. Okay, no, I totally didn't. Sword and Shield, by the way, its complexity is, I think I gave it a grade of, like, maybe 2 or 3. Not too complex, but it has the right number of moves to be not complicated while still being able to do basically anything. Let's see, complexity of longsword, I give it, yeah, a 2 or a 3. Not very complex, moveset's pretty simple to understand. You do need to manage your spirit meter, but that's pretty easy to do. Damage, 5 out of 5. This thing is the highest damaging weapon in the entire game. Literally look at any speedrunners or Monster Hunter World, and you'll see why. This thing hits like a truck, and has a ridiculously high attack speed for something that hits like a truck. Alright, last but not least, specialization. Longsword gets a 1. Probably the only 1 in the entire game. This thing literally does not have a single skill that, like, really benefits the weapon. Besides, you know, the usual, like, damage optimization, speedrunning stuff. There's not a single skill that longsword really... I mean, evade window, maybe, but, like, every single weapon benefits from evade window, and I'm not exaggerating, except Lance. Lance is the only weapon that doesn't benefit from evade window, because it benefits from guard instead. Next weapon, dual blades. Dual blades, you're up. Dual blades. Fish. Dual blades, beginner friendliness. I give not the best score, but definitely a good score. It is very useful in most circumstances. You can really just dish out some serious damage with it. It's easy to pick up and use. Again, it's fast, it's agile. The playstyle does take some getting used to. The evade shot adds a nice bit of, like, you know, evasion. You can just dodge out of the way of things. Complexity, no, yeah, versatility. Dual blades, maybe I give it maybe a 3 or a 4. About as versatile as longsword. Lacks longsword's insane reach, but makes up for it in extreme mobility and the ability to hit basically anything. It also lacks the natural mounting moves of sword and shield, but it also makes up for that with having the I forget what it's called, the mid-air spinning blade dance, the one where you just go down the side or back. Not swapping yet. Okay. Complexity, I give it whatever grade I gave longsword, minus like 1, because managing if manage the demon meter, which isn't that hard really, but you need to do it. I'll say, so the reason they gave it the same as longsword without making it worse than longsword, even though it is less versatile in most regards, is the fact that it actually does have a one-hit tenderize, which is surprising for a weapon like dual blades, but I guess if sword and shield got one, then why not dual blades, I guess? Bam. Anyway, back to the complexity argument. It's like like longsword, only now you have stamina mixed in, which is why I give it the -1 there. So I think I gave longsword like a, or it'd be a +1 because it's complexity. So I think I gave longsword like a 2 or a 3. I think I gave longsword like a 2, so dual blades gets a 3. You just hit it in demon mode to get demon meter, and in demon mode drains your stamina. Not too complicated, but definitely there. What else is there? Damage. Dual blades gets a pretty high damage score, maybe 4. Like sword and shield. High skill potential, but not as good as some of the other weapons. Still very good, though. There is... Let's see. We got... think. Let's see, we got... What's the last? Yeah, specialization. Other than, like, marathon runner, stamina surge, and maybe some constitution, really not a whole lot you're gonna need to do to make dual blades better. Pretty easy to do. So I give it maybe a 2 or a 3. Pretty simple, not a whole lot. Next up, hammer. The bonkin' stick. Hammer gets a beginner friendliness score from me of, let's go with 3. Pretty easy to pick up and use, but not the easiest by a long shot. It is simple to use, but requires some positioning knowledge, as it is a slower weapon. Versatility, hammer gets a lower score than all the previous ones. They all got 4s. Hammer gets a 3 because it has exclusively blunt damage, meaning you hit the head and nothing else, and that's all that hammer is good at. Let's see, we got... Bang. Alright, complexity, hammer gets... What did I give dual blades? Because it's basically the same thing as dual blades. I gave dual blades a 3, right? So hammer gets a 3. You use stamina during your charged state. You got a power charge, and then your level of charge determines what move comes out of your charge. You get a clutch claw attack out of that as well. So about as complex as dual blades. About as simple of a uncharged, not special move you got. Like, it's really pretty simple, really. I give it a 3, just for the stamina drain aspect and then the charge aspect of it. Damage gets a 4, really good damage, but not as high as like the meta stuff. I'm looking at primarily longsword and greatsword. See, my voice is giving out. See, I tried to record this video before, but my mic was muted the whole time, so that's why I'm redoing it. And that's also why I sound so rushed, because last time it took me like an hour and a half to get through it all. I'm trying to speed up the process a bit. Let's see. Last but not least, specialization. Other than like some marathon runner and some focus, hammer doesn't need too much, so I give it a 2 or a 3. Oh, and some slugger, so let's give it 3. All right, next up, lance, right? Yeah, lance. The stabbing stick. Lance. Beginner friendliness. Now, the interesting thing is the tutorial says Lance is like a 1 out of 3 stars for beginners. I disagree completely, like 100%. I completely disagree. I could not disagree more. Okay. I disagree with the assessment that... There it is. I disagree with the idea that it is a very, I forgot it's actually. It's pretty good for beginners. It's not as good as, say, Sword and Shield is, but it's definitely up there. So for beginner friendliness, I give it maybe a 3 or a 4. No, I messed that up. Snackers, put back. Thank you. Okay. So for versatility, I give it not the highest score, but definitely a score that is decent. I'll give it, let's see, it has mount on command, which is nice. It has very, very little blunt damage, but it does have some blunt damage, that being that 1 hit. I'd say it gets maybe, for versatility, a 3 or a 4. Let's go to 4, because it can do basically anything. Its damage potential is actually really good. Because it has a special damage type, which you can research on your own. It's called, like, piercing damage, I think. Let's see. Complexity. This thing gets a 1. It is the least complex weapon in the entire game. It is literally just poke. It is literally the entire gameplay of Lance is just poking. Now, I'm not shitting on poking here. Poking is fun. Poking is very fun. It's mainly because with the right build, Lance turns into you can't hurt me, Jack, and it's just fun. Or rather, it's funny because everything that tries to hurt you, you just say no. They cannot hurt you without your consent, and there's a big wall of iron in their way. Damage, Lance gotta be like the worst weapon on this entire list, next to freaking like Hunting Horn without the echo waves. It gets like a 2 or a 1 or 2. It's the worst one for raw damage. Next up, Gunland. No, hang on. No, we gotta do build specialization. You need some guard. You need some guard, and that's about it. That is the only skill that Lance like actively needs. Guard and maybe some guard up. If you don't have guard up, you might want some marathon runner, but just get some guard, basically. Next up, Gunlance. Gunlance. If it isn't the weapon that I thought I was gonna love and ended up not loving. Alright. Gunlance is not great. It's okay. By not great, I mean I don't like it, personally. But, I mean, it is a good weapon. Pew. Molten Core. Stare into the sun. Who is DMing me? Problem solved. Okay, so, for beginner friendliness, I give Gunlance a startlingly low 2. This thing sucks for beginners. It's complicated. It's probably not the worst choice you can make as a beginner, but it's not nearly the best. It's complicated. The shield aspect of it is a lot less developed as I would like it to be. It is just not the best beginner weapon. It's a 2. Maybe a 2.5 if I'm feeling generous. Let's see. We got versatility. Yes, versatility. Gunlance actually has a pretty high versatility score, as it can deal both sharp and true damage, which basically means it deals sharp and blunt damage, only the blunt damage is even better because it's true damage, and true damage is amazing. It's really good. It is, probably, it's definitely not like the 5 out of 5 that Sword and Shield is. I'd give it maybe a 3.5 to a 4. Very versatile weapon. But hard to use, again. Complexity, Gunlance gets a pretty high score of, like, 4. Yeah, let's go to 4. Gunlance is a 4 for complexity. You need to work with your ammo types. The moveset itself is kind of annoying to use sometimes. The blocking, again, is not nearly as developed as I would like it to be. You got your Wormstake Blast to worry about. Not Wormstake Blast, that's your Wyvern. That's your Worms. No, Wyvern's Fire, yeah, right. Wormstake is that thing. And then you can obviously manually load it. Well, that's not obvious. You gotta manually load it, which is a thing which all of a sudden adds a whole new layer of complexity to the weapon. It is a very complex weapon. Probably not the most complex, but like up there for sure. There we go. Okay, so it is definitely a weapon that is it's pretty complex. Like I said, I'll give it a 4. For damage, Gunlance, it's not the worst, but it's not the best. I'll give it like maybe a 3. Definitely not the greatest in terms of Not the greatest. Let's see. There's last bit, specialization. Specialization, Gunlance gets a pretty high score. Not a ridiculously high score, but a pretty high score of 4. Gunlance needs guard up. Let's see. It needs artillery. It needs protective polish. It needs capacity boost. Those are the main ones. Because Gunlance, without those skills, just does not. It requires a lot of skills to be fun. So it gets a 4. It gets a 4. Maybe even a 5. Look at like a 4.5. Next up, the one true bonking stick. The one slapper to rule them all. Fun fact: look at the sword. Now look at the sword. It is significantly larger when it's actually unsheathed. Anyway, the bonking stick to rule them all. The biggie number weapon, as my friend lovingly refers to it as. Yes, there it is. It is bang. It's fun in the right circumstances. I personally don't find it fun in most circumstances. Just not my thing. Beginner friendliness. This one gets one of the lowest scores. I'm gonna give this like a 1 or a 2. This thing, yikes. Yikes. Let me tell you. This thing does not, and I mean does not, do well if you're a beginner, because it's just, no. It's too slow, so your options are limited. You need a lot of knowledge of positioning to actually make it work right. It's just, it's very simple, but in this case, simple and easy are not the same thing at all. Let's see. For versatility, Greatsword gets actually a pretty decent score of like 3.5. It has one. It has one singular blunt damage move. Boop. It has a couple mobility options, like wide slash, specifically if you go wide slash, tackle, jumping wide slash into a slinger burst, into a TCS. That is pretty good, but not the best. Let's see, we got complexity. This thing gets like a 1, like Lance. It's very, very simple. You hit the button. The complexity comes from the positioning, but I don't want to count that as the complexity of the weapon itself, if you know what I'm saying. Just not. I just feel like it's better if we count the complexity as, you know, as part of the move set. The complexity of the move set and of the moves. The playstyle is more complex than 1, but the moveset itself is very, very simple. 796. That's the most damage I can do with this greatsword without any kind of buffs. Let's see. Damage, 5 out of 5. It's greatsword. And then for specialization, all you need is some focus, and you're good to go. Basically, that's all you need. Maybe some speed sharpening too, but not really. Just get some focus on it. Focus is the only skill that greatsword really needs. So I'm gonna give specialization like a 2, maybe a 1.5, maybe. God, my vocal cords are really feeling this one. Okay, greatsword led into switch axe, right? Switch axe. Beginner accessibility. Maybe like maybe a 3. It's not terrible, but I wouldn't exactly call it great either. It's actually best if I show off Switch Axe's potential with the claw. So, Switch Axe, it is best used, or not best used, but I'm saying it is probably best if you are using it not going first into the game. It is... Bang. Zero sum's always fun to do. Gotta reload. Alright, let's see. Switch Axe is pretty fun to use. As a beginner, like I said, maybe give it a 3, because it requires a lot of balance of sword and axe mode. That's like the whole point of Switch Axe. It's a momentum-based weapon that focuses entirely on balance. So definitely not the easiest weapon to use, but not the worst either. Versatility, I give Switch Axe maybe I'll give it a 3. It lacks both blunt damage and easy mounting capability. But it's not terrible. Let's see. Let me think. I will say it does charge significantly faster in World than it does in Rise, but in Rise you have the manual load at any given time, so... let's see. Versatility. Switch Axe is great for dishing out lots of elemental damage, but I'd say it's about as versatile as Dual Blades in that regard, so I think I gave Dual Blades like a 3, right? Was it a 4? No, I gave it a 3. So let's give Switch Axe a 3 as well. Also, like, no defensive options on Switch Axe. Okay, damage. Switch Axe pretty good. I'll give it like a 4, mainly because it's not longsword or greatsword. Those two get the 5. Everything else is 4 or below, basically. And then finally, specialization. You need power prolonger on Switch Axe, and you need focus on Switch Axe, and like that's basically mandatory. You really need those two skills. Also, you need evade extender. Evade extender, focus, and power prolonger are the major skills Switch Axe needs, and it really needs them. So I'll give specialization maybe a... like... 3, maybe 4 out of 5. Okay, why don't you see something funny you can do with Switch Axe? I need to grab this slinger ammo real quick. Something amusing you can perform with Switch Axe. Double Fade Slash. There is absolutely no reason to ever perform that. However, it's funny. Let's see, so I give specialization for Switch Axe maybe a 3 or a 4. Yeah, probably 4. I'll put it on par with Gunlance, because Gunlance needs more stuff. Switch Axe needs less stuff, but it needs that stuff a lot more. Let's see. Last of the melee weapons before the ranged weapons, because there's one more after, or there's actually 2 more after the ranged weapons. We got Charge Blade. Charge Blade. Beginner, no. 1. This thing is complicated and annoying, and if you are a beginner, you will not enjoy using this. It is just so unbelievably complicated. And by that, it's actually not. It's really not that complex. It's just, it's so much more complex than everything else that by comparison, it feels like there's a ton to manage. So get used to the game first, and then then maybe give this weapon a try. So I'd say don't initiate your experience with this weapon using at the very beginning of the game. Give this some time, figure out how to play the game first, and then move into the more complex weapon that is Charge Blade. For versatility, Charge Blade gets a pretty high score. The only thing it's lacking is blunt damage. It's got good elemental. Actually, no, it's not, because it has impact files. So I'd give Charge Blade, like Sword and Shield, a 5 out of 5. It is really good. You can do quite a lot with it. You can focus elemental, or you can focus blunt, one or the other, unfortunately. Sword and Shield can do both, actually. Bang. So it is an extremely versatile weapon. So I mean, like I said, 5 out of 5. It is extremely useful. You can do basically whatever you need to do with it, and you'll be fine. Bang. Let's see. Complexity, this thing also gets a 5 out of 5. It's the most complex weapon in the game, and I'm not going to go over it right now. Just go watch the Charge Blade video if you're so curious. Didn't mean to do that. Nah, it's fine. Let's see. So there is, let's see, for damage, Charge Blade gets a, I'll go to 5. You can do basically all of the damage you ever wanted with Charge Blade, and then some. Super good damage. And then finally, specialization, Charge Blade gets a 5 out of 5. You need focus, you need power prolonger, you need guard, you need maybe some guard up, you need whatever elemental attack you're doing, or slugger, depending on what you're trying to do. You need, well, I guess Rapid Morph isn't in World, but you need Rapid Morph when you're in Rise. It is a weapon that requires a lot of... It doesn't require them, right? No weapon in this game truly requires lots of skills to be useful. But Charge Blade definitely gets a lot nicer to use when you have lots of skills. Man, I blitzed through that. The video is about to cut where I was last time, and now I'm only 40 minutes in. This is going great. I might actually get through them all. Alright, next up, Bow. Bow. One of my favorites. Bow, for beginner friendliness, gets a 4 out of 5. Not 5. Not 5. It's close, but not 5. I give it a 4.5 if I could. The only issue with Bow is that, obviously, the codings are a bit much to learn, and the stam management is a thing. For versatility, I give Bow another pretty good score of 4 out of 5. Only thing it's missing, severing damage. You need blunt, you got blunt. Hit the target. Hit the target. There we go. Much better. Very fun. Bow, that's a blunt damage attack. Bow basically can do all the different ammo types. It's great. It's a very versatile weapon. Only thing it's missing, again, is some severing. That right there, Dragon Piercer, is the only severing attack that Bow has. So that's all that's missing for versatility. Complexity. Bow goes from probably about a 3, right? Yeah, it goes from whatever complexity hammer was to 1 more when you add the files in. So it is basically just ranged hammer in terms of complexity, and then you have the files, and then you got a little bit more to worry about. But not a ton, not a ton. Let's see, what was I gonna say? Damage, bow damage, pretty good. Not the best. I'm gonna give it like a 4, maybe a 3. And then finally, specialization. Let's see. For bow, what's all that great? So you want marathon runner, stamina surge. Marathon, stamina surge. Some constitution. That's really it. Just those, and you're good to go. So I'd give its specialization maybe a 3. Oh, and true razor sharp. Can't forget true razor sharp. But that's less important than on the bow guns. Speaking of the bow guns, let's get into light bow gun. Light bow gun is it's just a gun. You shoot things with the gun. It's not the best. It's not the worst. Beginner friendliness. In terms of being easy to use, light bowgun actually has you covered. It is super simple to pick up and use. You literally just point and shoot. For versatility, I give both bowguns a 5 out of 5. They can do everything. Complexity, I also give both bowguns a, let's see, what would it be, like a 3, maybe a 4, because of all the ammo types. But in terms of actually fighting, their movesets are pretty simple, so I give them a 3. So they get a 3 out of 5 for their complexity and a 5 out of 5 for their versatility. Light bowgun damage, garbage, or not garbage, but not great either. It gets like a 2. Maybe a 3, 2.5. Let's say 2.5. For requires skills, specialization rather. For light bowgun, I'd say you'd want to have some constitution, because those evade reloads cost quite a bit of stamina. Obviously, you're gonna need true razor sharp. You need true razor sharp, because like 40% of your shots are free. Then there's that's really it. And then obviously you need your shot specializing skills. So I'd say for specialization, light bowgun gets a 4, heavy gets a 3. Let's say that, because heavy doesn't need the constitution. But actually, no. Okay, let's say they both get. Let's say they both get a 3.5, because light needs constitution as much as heavy needs evade extender. Because trust me, heavy needs evade extender. Speaking of heavy, beginner friendliness, it gets the same score of 4 as light bowgun, but for completely different reasons. Whereas light gets the 4 because of its agility and ease of use. Heavy gets its friendliness score because of its stability. You just start shooting. That's the entirety of heavy bowgun. You don't need to worry about literally anything. You just start blasting. The special ammos are pretty easy to use. You just load, kaboom. Very fun to use. So overall, pretty easy beginner weapon. Already gave you the versatility and complexity scores when I talked about light. So let's talk about damage. 5 out of 5. This thing gets the same score as longsword and greatsword because it deserves it. Heavy bowgun hits really hard and ridiculously consistently. One of the strongest, and I mean strongest, teams you can have in this game is just 4 heavy bowguns. And then finally, specialization, already gave you that, another 3.5, because you need, obviously, true razor sharp, free element ammo up, which I forgot to mention on both of those, you need free element ammo up, and you need evade extender on heavy bowgun, but that's about it. Besides the usual damage buffing skills, and your shot specialized types. Next up, we're almost done, hunting horn, talked about at the beginning of the video. This thing, pretty good. Beginner friendliness. This thing gets a pretty low score. Not as low as Charge Blade or Greatsword. This thing gets like a 2.5. I'm gonna give it a 2.5. Because it's fun. So hunting horn is fun to use, but it definitely takes some getting used to. And it's not the best. So I'd say if you're going early game, unless you have some friends, at which point, yeah, then use hunting horn. But like, unless you have some friends, I'd say don't start with hunting horn, because you're not gonna have a great time. You might have an okay time, but you're definitely not gonna have a great time. It is, in terms of complexity, moveset wise, not complex at all. Song wise, very complex. So I'd give it a score of 4. Can I give it I'll give it a 4. Pretty simple to use overall, but definitely not the simplest. Definitely not the simplest move. Let's see. Versatility, right? Forgot to go over that. Hunting horn gets a pretty good score. No defensive options, but plenty of buffs you can add. Blunt damage with a tiny bit of sharp damage on the side with that little stab. Pretty useful. I'd say I'd give it a 3. Maybe 3.5. It's slightly more versatile than hammer, plus the song. So let's bump it up to a 4. Just because of the songs. Damage, hunting horn, not great. I'll give it like a 2. But the whole point of hunting horn isn't the damage. The point of hunting horn is the stuns and the support that it provides. And I mean, it hits pretty hard too. It's just not the best. And then finally, the only skills you need for this thing, literally Horn Maestro and Slugger. Specialization gets a 2 for this thing. Finally, last but certainly not least, after all, it was my first main, Glaive. Ease of use. Picking it up as a beginner. I personally think it's a 5 out of 5, but I don't know, everyone would think that, so I'm gonna try and look at this without bias and say Insect Glaive gets a 4 out of 5. Very easy to use, simple to understand, and it offers you a lot of mobility that a lot of other weapons just don't offer. You can hit basically anything you need to with it, and staying out of harm's way is very easy if you're just above everything. The Kinsects are a bit of a hassle to get used to, especially if you don't realize that you can just send stuff out like that. but still pretty easy. So 4. For versatility, I give Insect Glaive a 3. No, 4. Let's give it a 4. Mount on command, sever damage wherever you need it. You can hit whatever part you need to. Insect Glaive, very good. Only issue, no blunt damage options aside from your Kinsect. I forgot about that. Your Kinsect can be used to supplement for blunt damage. Pardon my lapse of speech. And your you don't have any kind of blocking ability, but why do you need blocking if you're just above all the action? And then let's see, that was, what was that? That was versatility. Complexity, Insect Glaive gets a, so with the extracts and the flight, I give Insect Glaive for complexity a 3 or a 4. 3.5. Let's give it 3.5 because it is obviously the jumping and the insect extracts are a bit annoying to get sometimes. And it is another thing you do actually have to manage. Do I have the right? I don't think I have the right charm equipped. Let me check my charm. So it is definitely something you do actually have to care about. Oh, alright, I put riders on. I forgot. So definitely something you do need to worry about. Also, charging your Kinsect is a thing. Another thing you have to worry about. So I'd give it a 3.5, simply because even with all that, it's still not that complicated. You don't have to play a balancing act like with Switch Axe. It's just hit the monster 3 times in the correct locations, mark its face / tail, and have fun, basically. And then damage, Insect Glaive does not have the best damage. Doesn't have the worst either. I'd give it a 3 or a 4 for damage. I will say, unfortunately, the devs made it so that ground Glaive, playing Glaive on the ground, those attacks are stronger than spamming your flying attacks. And while I get that, from a development perspective, I do find it kind of annoying because I want to just play optimal damage while just helicoptering around. But oh well. But yeah, glaive damage, not bad, not great. About in the middle, with like a 3.5. And then finally, specialization. Glaive's interesting with specialization. You see, Glaive, I mean, you don't need any skills for it, really. There are some skills that make quality of life better, but none of them are really all that mandatory. So, what skills are good for Glaive? Well, Constitution is a big one, because obviously this whole, flight thing requires a good bit of stamina. So, Con's probably your most important skill. Next up, Evade Extender. This makes your mid-air evade boost you farther. Other than that, not a huge deal. And then Evade Window, but that's because Evade Window is good on everything. Power Prolonger. Power Prolonger is pretty good. That will let you stay powered up for longer. Those are the skills that are really good, though. So, Constitution, Evade Extender, and Power Prolonger. Those are the big ones. Also Flight, because Airborne is a skill. But that's really it. So I give Insect Glaive a specialization rating of roughly, I don't know, 3. Yeah, we'll give it a 3. That's every single weapon. How well I think they'd be for a beginner. How complex they are, how versatile they are, how specialized their builds need to be, all that. Now, if you're a beginner coming into Monster Hunter, right, and you want to figure out what weapon to use, what I recommend, what I think you should do, start with Sword and Shield. You're going to be fighting things that are never going to be out of your reach, at least for the early game, so get used to the controls and mechanics of the game with the one-size-fits-all weapon. If you love it, stick with it. I wouldn't say stick only with it, but stick with it. Time's running out, but I'm going to keep going because there isn't a whole lot left. I'd say try and do what I did. Try to learn every single weapon, but don't do it as late as I did. Maybe stay away from the guns early as well. Wait until you got Nargacuga and Master Rank, and then start to take a look at these. So, you've learned Sword and Shield. Alright, now figure out where you want to go from here. Do you want to go even faster? Pick Dual Blades. You want to try going into the air? Pick Glaive. You want to try being a support player? Play Horn. You want to get into ranged weapons? Go for bow first, then the bow guns. You like the anime longsword? Go for the anime longsword. Learn a couple. I'd say in order to learn Charge Blade, you should learn Sword and Shield. You should learn Insect Glaive, and you should learn Switch Axe. If you want to get to Charge Blade, or you want to just learn how to use Switch Axe, learn Switch Axe. But start with Sword and Shield. Start with the one size fits all. Build out from there. You like knocking monsters out? Pick Hammer. But start here. Start with the most versatile weapon in the entire game, and spread out from there. This thing has a 5 in beginner accessibility, versatility. I think that's it, actually. But, hey, really good. Start here, branch out. Anyway, guys, I'm running out of time, and I'm out of things to say anyway. Man, this killed my throat, guys. This killed my throat. Subscribe, like, comment for my throat, please. It's in pain. Anyway, criticism, I welcome it. Keep it constructive, though. Anyway, stay safe, guys. Drink lots of water. I'm gonna drink lots of water after this. Spend time with your loved ones. Have a wonderful day, guys. As always, I have been Bloomy64. This has been the final video of Wielding the Weapons of World. I will catch all of you beautiful people in whatever video of mine you decide to watch next. Bye for now.